Throughout history, humans have attempted to make lists of principles and actions that will make them turbo wealthy. Ray Dalio has his principles. Tai Lopez has his 67 steps. David Kafef, whatever his name is, has the 7 habits of highly effective people. Heck, even Amaranth has 15 creative ways to show side boob on Twitch and make tons of money on OnlyFans. These lists right here, it's the key to success, as some people will tell you. But I have bad news for you. These lists all suck in comparison to what I'm about to give you today, which is Alex Becker's turbo super awesome list of 10 principles that will make you wealthy as fuck. And why should you listen to me? Why should you put these principles to heart? Well, I built a net worth of almost multi-9 figures without leaving my house while sitting in my garage yelling profanity on YouTube. All these other people, they had to try and do stuff. I've just sat at this computer and doodled for 15 years and built this kind of net worth. And jokes aside, I had to build up this list a little bit to get your attention. These 10 principles right here, I have seen in myself and every single successful person I know. I can almost virtually guarantee if you take all these 10 principles I'm about to lay out right here and you put them into your life, you are going to make substantially more over the span of your lifetime than most people do, and at least substantially more than you would without them. I cannot picture someone being successful and not having these things incorporated in their life. And if you just apply these principles, it doesn't matter what business tactics or what you're doing, you are going to be so much better at it than any other human being that you meet. And if you're looking for the business tactics, all the lessons in actually growing businesses, I have videos at the end of this video are getting from 0 to a couple $100,000 a year, and in getting from $100,000 a year to $1 million a year, all for free. I don't sell you shit on this channel. And if you really want to be an overachiever, subscribe to these videos because every single month I give away all my past business courses I used to make for free to every one of my subscribers in the community tab, but I only keep it up for a few days and you have to be subscribed to see it. So subscribe, you'll get those. Let's begin. So look, I've saved the first and most important principle for the actual first slot. The first one is everything is absolutely your fucking fault. So I told this story all the time and it makes people upset. So I'm going to tell it to you as well because being offensive gets clicks on YouTube. So look, if you go driving at 2 a.m. at night, let's imagine you're driving through and you stop at a stop sign and then you gradually go through the stop sign and then a drunk driver smashes into you. If you look at most people's opinions of the world, everybody would blame the drunk driver. He was driving around 2 a.m., shit faces, coming home from the bar, probably pounding a 6-pack. Of course it's his fault. He hit you. It's not at all your fault. But how does that help you? I want you to think about this. In this situation right here, you just got T-boned by a drunk driver. Yes, it's his fault. But what good is it? What good does it do you, even if it is his fault? What good does it do you thinking if you just think, oh, well, it's all the drunk driver's fault. It's not my fault at all. None. You're still in the hospital or dead. So you have to change the way you view the world. If we're driving around at 2 a.m., look at all the decisions we just made. We pulled up to a stop sign. We decided to go driving on a Friday night when we know drunk drivers will be out. We decided to drive in an area where drunk drivers might be. We didn't research where we were going to. We decided not to look both ways 15 times knowing that there's drunk drivers out before we pulled through that stop sign. These are all things that if you look down to the minute of it, we could have done to avoid this. So ultimately, us getting hit by that drunk driver in that situation is our fault. This is not how 99% of people think. And this is why they suck at life, because when things are not your fault, it also means you're not in control. In this situation, if we blamed ourselves for everything, including being hit by a drunk driver, we would have not gotten hit by a drunk driver. Now, if you think about life and all of your life using this principle right here, you're going to see a lot of things that have happened to your life that you blame on other people. You could have actually thought about it and avoided. Therefore, they are your fault. And when you start viewing the world like this and not this victim mentality that things are other people's faults ever, literally everything is your fault, you start thinking in second, third, and fourth principles and way down the line of how to avoid and get what you want out of life. Because again, you are now firmly in control. Everything bad that happens to you and good is 100% your fault. That bad marriage, that girl that acted crazy, that failed business, that person that stole from you, that time you shit your pants at that party because you ate too much Chipotle beforehand and then drank way too many Four Locos, all your fault. And thinking like this gets your brain thinking in ways that allow you to avoid all the bad things that happen to your life, and then more so start thinking how you can trigger the good things by extra overthinking about the principles of everything you're going to do. This is critical to being successful. Number 2, this is a good old Alex Hormozy one, and I think it's the most important thing you could also learn as well when it comes to guaranteeing that you're going to be successful. Volume overcomes luck. A lot of people think, okay, I need to build a business and I need to get lucky. But the truth is, if you do anything for 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day, 4 years, you're eventually going to get good at it. And so I know so many people that I came up with in business. They got started at the same time as me. Every single person that's stuck with it for the last decade is making over $1 million a year. Most of them make a lot more money than that. And the simple truth is, yes, if you only take 1 or 2 shots in business or 1 or 2 shots or whatever you're going to do, you're probably not going to be successful unless you have a little bit of luck. But if you do something at such a high amount, for example, if you try to build a business that's based around selling something through call funnels online, maybe your first 5 businesses won't work. But if you build 20 of them and put your full effort into 20 of them, one of them is going to work. So eventually, if you just do the volume and do the amount of hours, you will get the results that you're looking for. And in life, especially when it comes to control of money, getting that one result, that one time where your business works is going to set you up for the rest of your life. And eventually the skill and volume of what you're doing is going to overcome the luck. So what you need to focus on when you're building businesses or trying to get good at anything is, am I doing enough volume? Eventually it will spill over and luck will not matter anymore. Number 3, embrace being cringe as fuck. I talked about this last video, but I'm going to tap on it again because it's so fucking important. Here's a video from me back 15 years ago when I was in a tiny little apartment, broke as shit, trying to launch my new SEO blog.
Hey guys, what is up? Becker here, and I have some really amazing news today, but first I have some
absolutely terrible cringe. Imagine going to high school with me and seeing that video during those years and being like, holy shit, Alex Becker looks like such a fucking loser right now. He's not doing very well, apparently. Super duper cringe. For example, last weekend almost, I did the first, or one of the biggest pump live streams on pump.fun in crypto. If you follow me in crypto over there, went absolutely horrible. Every single thing on pump crashed. I couldn't get connected. It was just terrible. And it was super duper cringe. I managed to pull it off in the end because I kept my cool, but everything just terrible. It was cringe as fuck. And the reason why I'm telling you to embrace cringe is, if you look at both of those situations 15 years ago and even last week, I constantly hop into things even knowing that I'm probably going to mess them up. They're going to look bad and people are probably going to make fun of me. A lot of people made fun of me for the pump stream because it all broke. He doesn't know what he's doing. Fine, whatever. If you consistently go and embrace the cringe, what happens is, to get to the point where you're skilled enough or something, or to be great at something, you have to always jump into stuff and not be good at it, and it's just going to suck. A lot of people spend all their time reading, preparing, doing all the little things before actually jumping in the pool, and they never become successful. Every single person that's very successful, they go and do things regardless of how the public is going to respond to them, regardless of how cringe and embarrassing they look. You're going to need to look pathetic and like you don't know what you're doing, and things are going to go wrong when you're taking risks, and that's just part of it, and you need to embrace that, because if you're not hitting parts in your life where things are cringe, or you're putting yourself out of your comfort zone and being at risk and putting your ego at risk in the public square, you're never going to grow. So pursue being cringe. Just get over it. It's part of becoming great. In order for you to become Tom Brady, you're going to have to go out on the field and throw 15 lady boy limp wrist passes and look like a complete idiot, and then have to sit down and analyze why your passes, why your things you're doing are not working, and then you get better. You cannot get better unless you analyze the initial shit show that comes when you first get started. So embrace being cringe. Next, you get rich from leverage. For example, I was watching, I have a pretty big house in the suburbs because I'm an old man now, and I was watching the lawn care guys outside mowing my lawn and everything like that. And I was thinking, wow, they are working so much harder than me. I'm not putting them down. That is hard work. That's a square 9-to-5 job right there. What I'm trying to point out right here is, there isn't any shame or anything like that, but they are putting in so much more work day to day, hard work, brutal work in the sun. That is hard shit. That's hard fucking labor. I had to do a lot of manual labor when I was in Air Force. I know what it's like. It fucking sucks. I was watching this day and I didn't put any work in, and I made over 100 grand that day while they were out there slaving away, and they made far less than that. The point is, hard work does not make money. You can work and work and work and work and work, and it doesn't do anything. What makes money is leverage. And I've talked about this in other videos, and I'm not going to get as deep in it as I want to. It's explained in other videos, how to get to $1 million per year, that video, whatever that's going to be at the end of this video. You get rich from leverage. A few examples of this means controlling assets when they are not perceived as valuable by other people, which you get when you start a business and then grow it. The asset becomes extremely valuable, and then owning that asset is what makes you money. So for example, at Hyros, if I were to go actually and just hire a CEO right now to run the business, I could make many, many, many millions of dollars a year just chilling out at my house because I own the business and I have leverage. On top of that, from a simpler point at Hyros, we have a lot of employees, and every single decision I make at Hyros results in thousands and thousands and thousands of man hours per week. So that's massive leverage behind a decision that might make me 30 minutes to make. This is why Jeff Bezos can make billions of dollars while working very normal hours, because he thinks about his decisions, and his decisions, which are really well, have rippling effects that result in millions and millions of man hours. So as you're working, do not ever pursue being busy or hard work. That doesn't make you money. Every ounce of work you do should go into gaining leverage by building systems that other people use that are applied, so you no longer have to do the work, or gaining control of assets and then growing the value of the assets, or just getting the assets before people actually preserve their value, which is a completely different game, which I really don't suggest playing, because that's not easy to control. For example, finding something like Bitcoin very early on and buying it, that's going to take a little bit of luck and a whole lot of other mojo jojo. What you need to focus on is, when you're doing work every single day, think, is the work I'm doing today, is it going into building leverage that I can rely on later on to make me money without me doing anything? Or is it something that I'm gonna have to repeat over and over again? For example, doing sales calls for your business every single day, that is very low leverage. The amount of work you put into there, it doesn't lead to anything new. Doing the sales calls, turning it into a template, training someone else to run your sales team, and then having them run that part of your business, that's building leverage, and that's how you need to view work. Next, the way people view risk is really stupid. It's very, very stupid. A lot of people avoid risk. They think risk is very, very bad. The truth is, if you don't take any risk, you will never have any level of success. Almost all success comes from taking risk and being able to judge risk and then consistently take risk, because the nature of risk is it often does not pay off. The biggest bets you're going to make probably have the lowest chance of paying off, and you have to find and be able to analyze risk and take good risk shots. The way you get better at taking risk is you take risk. As I grow in business, for example, when I first got started, most of the risk you're going to do comes from risking your time. As you grow, you start having to risk money, betting on products, betting on people. You need to set up and live your life in a way so that you can take as much risk as possible. So for example, when I was building Hyros, I reduced all my personal finances nearly to zero so I could take a massive big risk on the business. And even if the business had failed, my finances were zero, so I could take another risk after that and another risk after that. You're going to see the big difference between people that are wildly successful and people that don't really do much with their life is they absolutely never take risks. They go to college, no risk. Actually gets them in debt. They go and work at a job and they just work, but they don't build leverage. They don't ever go and invest any of their money. They don't take any risk with their job or their careers. Therefore, what happens their entire life is they just end up a debt slave and not getting anything they want in life. Not taking risk is the safest way to make sure you fail 100%. Consistently reducing your exposure to risk, which in most people's cases is just setting your finances to zero, so that even if a risk fails, you don't get hurt. And then taking risk over and over is the most surefire way to get extremely successful, because eventually those risks are going to pay off and you're going to get better at controlling and manipulating those risks. So for example, when I built my first business, a lot of risk because I never built a business before. And even if the business did fail, I'm going to learn something from that. So the next time I take a risk on a business, I'm going to have a lot more skill to control that business and grow it. So the risk gets smaller. And again, I'm keeping my finances, everything very low, so I can take that risk over and over again and get better at it each time. This is an almost guaranteed way to become successful in life. So next one, do not stay in your comfort zone. And a lot of people think this only applies to you when you're first getting started in business. For example, a lot of people, the reason why they never become successful is they get comfortable in a job that pays them enough money that they aren't in any amount of pain, but it's not the amount of money that they really want to make in life. But to avoid the pain, they stay in that job. Comfort zones are going to find you at every single level. For example, I know a lot of guys, they get to $2 million per year and then they plateau for the rest of their life because they took rest to get to like $1 million, $2 million per year. And then they won't take any more risk or leave their comfort zone because now they're comfortable. They're making enough money again to not be in pain, to feel some form of success, but they really want to get up here, but they're not willing to risk this right here and leave their comfort zone of everything that's cozy right here to get right here. You're going to run into this every single level of success. And it's so important to recognize that, hey, I'm getting comfortable again, and completely kick yourself out of it, because this is the number one killer of very successful people. They get to a point where they're making some money and then they don't take any more risk. Same thing with lower level people as well. What you need to recognize over and over and over again, every single week when you wake up, am I comfortable? Am I doing something that scares me? Am I doing something that is making me a bit frustrated? If the answers are no, then you are in your comfort zone and you're going to be stuck at this level. And what you're going to realize as you get older is time goes by very fast and you run out of time to take risk. Building big businesses, taking big swings takes a long time. It's taken me almost 7 years to build Hyros. I only have like 3 or 4 shots of that in my entire lifetime. You have to not only stay out of your comfort zone, you have to do it very aggressively and recognize when you're doing it, because you're going to end up wasting. For example, in my 20s, I got to like $2 million per year and I plateaued for years, like 5 years, and I didn't understand why. And it's because I kept trying to do things I was comfortable with instead of taking big shots like Hyros. As soon as I actually went and started taking risk and got out of my comfort zone, my net worth grew past 9 figures. It would not have happened if I didn't keep taking those risks and push myself way outside my comfort zone. So another principle that I actually learned from my buddy Sam Evans, who I think he stole from someone else, but we're just going to credit Sam with this, is it's something like, if you fail to sacrifice for what you care about will be the sacrifice. A lot of people do not sacrifice anything in their life. They have a bunch of friends that are kind of meh, that they don't really like care that much about, but they keep in their life. They have all these obligations to parents, family. They have all these obligations to their house, their lifestyle. They have all these stupid hobbies they know take away from their life. They have all these bad habits that they won't give up. If you look at most people, they sacrifice nothing. And if you look at their day-to-day, it's just full of nonsense and distractions and bullshit. What you need to understand is that there's things you really care about in life, and you can only have very few things in life. You can only truly excel at very few things, whether it's building a family or being extremely rich, whatever you want to pick, becoming the world's greatest football player. In order to get these things that you really care about, you're going to have to look at the things that you don't really care about, that you kind of like, that you kind of don't want to give up, but are not going to be important to you on the day you die. For example, playing World of Warcraft or drinking every weekend with random strangers or acquaintances that you call your friends but are really just drinking buddies. At the end of your life, you're going to look back and go, man, I really wish I had not wasted so much time doing those things because those weren't important and I didn't get any of the important things I wanted. If you have to sit down and you have to audit what you actually care about in life, and then you have to look at the things that you do that take up most of your time that you don't actually care about and are not going to make you happy at the end of your life. And then you have to sacrifice them, because if you don't, those things you care about will be the sacrifice. And it's as simple as that. Next, good old basic thing that every beginner entrepreneur fucks up and almost every successful entrepreneur fucks up. You're going to see the retardation follows you around your entire life. It follows me around all the time as well. I have to deal with this same exact problem all the time now. One thing is better than 5 things. If you look at most people who are billionaires, they became rich from one thing. And that's because in order to beat other people, for example, if Tom Brady was playing football and then he decided to put 30% of his time into playing basketball as well, he would have not have been the world's greatest quarterback at all, not even probably top 10, and he wouldn't have been good at basketball either. If you split your focus, in order to make a lot of money, you have to be the absolute best at something. And unless you're in a very small pond of inbred retards who aren't making much money in the first place, you have to be very fucking good, because there's other people in the pond or the ocean that are willing to make those sacrifices to be the best. So in order to be the best, you have to sacrifice a lot. And the only way you can beat those people that are true killers, because at a certain level, you're dealing with people only that are very smart, very competent, and are willing to sacrifice. And the only way to really beat them is to outwork them and out-sacrifice them. And if you are not focused on one thing primarily. For example, I do crypto stuff as a hobby, and it's always kept as a hobby. I never take it as the number one thing. My number one thing is Hyros. That's where most of my net worth comes from, and that's probably the thing that's going to make me worth $500 million to $1 billion if I keep pushing it. I have so many temptations to start new software companies and new things, and sometimes I do start new software companies, but I never am the CEO. I'm never actively running them. I hire someone else to run them. If it works, it works. I don't ever take it super duper seriously. My one thing is Hyros and the company I'm building right there. And what I see people constantly doing, what I did early in entrepreneurship, is I kept starting new businesses on top of my main business. So my main business was like 50% of my focus, and the other businesses were 20, 30 split across everywhere. The big results come from that 99th percentile of focus. That's the place where most people aren't, and that's where you beat them at. A lot of people have a bunch of other things they split their life across. Your way to beat them is just doing that one thing. I cannot stress enough, if you look at most people who are billionaires or most big companies, you can make billions of dollars just from one company. And the easiest way to make billions of dollars is to have one really good company instead of having 15. Very few people started 15 different businesses and then got to $1 billion, $500 million, whatever their goal is, equally across all 15 of them. It's usually one big thing. So just do one big thing and say no to everything else. And you're going to have to make that call. It's boring. It's not fun, but it's the best way to become successful. And then finally, my last kind of mental Eckhart Tolle kind of advice is you need to understand that the point of business or the point of success is the game itself. You will never find any more happiness than the point when you're able to pay your bills. So whenever you get to 100, 150K a year and you're able to pay your bills without going and doing something you don't like to do every single day, that's your peak happiness. If you're not happy there, you're not going to be happy with $100 million. You're not going to be happy with $15 million. And there's never going to be any happiness or long-term fulfillment you're going to get from business. You're going to get entertainment and joy from just playing the game. So one thing I encourage you to do if you're doing business or trying to become successful at anything is just enjoy getting better at it. If you've ever played a video game, the most fun part is when you're leveling up and playing the game. You've probably noticed if you ever played a video game, when you get to the end of it, it gets very boring and dull, and you're just like, well, it's the worst part because now you're out of things to do. It's the same exact way with business, except people think once they get to some certain point, they're going to be happy or fulfilled. You should be fulfilled automatically by playing the game every single day. That's what you're doing the game for. The game is not to end the game. The point is not to end the game or get somewhere where you can just do nothing. Because you trust me, it's going to be like when you're playing a video game and you beat it, you're just not going to be happy anymore because you were getting fulfillment from actually playing. So as you're growing in business, as you're getting better at things, just remember, this is the fun part. You're already there. You already have the entire world if you can pay your bills. There's nowhere to go. There's no big box. There's no house you're going to buy. There's no bigger box you're going to live in. There's no car you're going to achieve. There's no possession you're going to own, no amount of free time you're going to have that's going to bring you that happiness that you're lacking. What you need to do if you are lacking happiness and fulfillment is look at how your life is structured right now, look at your day-to-day routine and say, what about this isn't doing it for me, and why am I making myself so unhappy? And the real reason why a lot of people are unhappy is unfulfilled is because they're unhappy that they're not happy. They're not fulfilled that they're not fulfilled. You could just cancel that out and be happy and fulfilled immediately. Because again, there's nowhere for you to go. There's no better place for your mind to be at. If you wake up a billionaire, you're still going to be the same exact consciousness, waking up thinking, what do I do today? You're not ever going to escape that. And so the attempt to escape that desperate need for fulfillment or lack of is where the unhappiness comes from. It's just accept that you're good now if you can cover your bills or whatnot. And if you're getting to that point, just accept, hey, I'm going to get to that point. I'm going to grind it out a little bit. It's going to kind of suck. Once you have those basic needs covered, you have nowhere to go. So just enjoy playing the game. And ultimately, the point of the game is pointless. You're going to die. You're going to forget everything. No one's going to remember you. This entire point of this little dream we're living right now, life, has absolutely no point whatsoever. So whatever point you decide is the point is the most important thing. So realize there's no point to the game. There's no reason to obsess with beating it as the point. The point of the game is to enjoy getting better at the game. The end. And that's going to make you a lot happier and allow you to accept whatever position you are in life right now with glee and live your life and just be happy right now versus thinking, oh, in 10 years when I finally make it, then I'll be happy. That's no way to live, and that's just going to drive you crazy, and you're going to get to that end point thinking you're going to be happy, and then you're going to be very unhappy because you're going to be like that person who beats the video game, and you're like, fuck, what do I do now? And then you're going to be depressed all over again because you're basing your happiness around a bunch of stuff that is incorrect. So these are the 10 principles. If you have these 10 things in your life, you're going to be way more successful than other people by default because 99% of people just don't operate this way. Just having these basic principles in your day-to-day life, focus on them, making sure you're adhering to them, they're going to be more successful. The end. So that being said, if you want to actually see the business practices, I realize this is a bunch of mental mindset stuff. There's a video on this channel that shows how to get from 0 to a couple $100K a year. Free. There's a video on this channel that shows how to get from a couple $100K a year to a couple million a year. Free. There's also a video that shows how to get from $1 million a year to $10 million a year. Free. If you want all the old business courses I used to make on sales, copywriting, building funnels, how I built my businesses, they're all for free on this channel too, but you have to subscribe, and I'm going to post in my community tab once a month. You will not see them unless you're subscribed, so subscribe. That's it. That's all I got today. Goodbye.